My name is Tabo Makezi. I was born and raised in Soweto, Johannesburg, South Africa. For many years, fasting was not something I associated with Christianity alone. Long before I ever stepped into a church, fasting was already part of my world, not as a religious performance, but as a spiritual tool. That is why, when I later heard Christians speak casually about fasting, shortening it, bargaining with it, or copying it without understanding, something inside me felt disturbed. Because fasting was never casual where I came from. It was dangerous, it was calculated, and it was never done without knowing what kind of door it would open. That is why I am speaking now. Not to glorify fasting, not to scare people, but to explain something many sincere believers practice without understanding. Not all fasts do the same thing. Before I ever touched an altar, before I learnt chants, before I understood spiritual hierarchies, fasting was introduced to me as a spiritual training. That was the phrase used. One of the men who trained me said, "Food anchors the body, fasting loosens the spirit." He explained that fasting does not automatically make someone holy or powerful. What it does is reduce interference. It strips away layers, physical, emotional, psychological, and exposes the spirit to influence. That is why fasting was never prescribed randomly. The duration mattered, and that is where the difference between 3-day, 7-day, and 21-day fasts become critical. When I later observed Christians, I noticed something strange. Many people fast because someone else is fasting, because a calendar says so, because a pastor announced it, because they want fast results. But they rarely ask, what level of engagement does this fast create? From my background, the question was always asked first. Because fasting does not just draw you closer to God, it also makes you visible in the spirit realm. Visibility without understanding is dangerous. The first time I truly understood the difference was during an assignment in Pretoria when I was still in training. A woman, a Christian woman, went on a 3-day fast. We did not know her personally at first. She was not loud. She was not popular. But something about her prayer activity changed suddenly. For 3 days, her spiritual profile shifted, not deeply, not permanently, but noticeably. Our superiors explained it this way: 3 days break surface resistance. That sentence stayed with me. A 3-day fast does not dismantle structures, it interrupts patterns. Spiritually, it weakens surface opposition, exposes minor blockages, disrupts ongoing cycles, forces attention. It is often enough to provoke dreams, stir resistance, cause emotional release, trigger minor reversals, but it does not usually rewrite long-standing spiritual records. That is why many people fast for 3 days and feel lighter, emotionally free, spiritually alert, yet return to the same battles week later. The fast worked at its level. There was a man named Sibusiso Kumalo living in Orlando East, Soweto. He fasted for 3 days after losing his job repeatedly. During that fast, he dreamed vividly. He felt peace. He received encouragement. Within 2 weeks, he got a job. Within 3 months, the same pattern returned. From our side, we understood why. The fast opened a door. It did not secure the ground. Why 7-day fasts were taken more seriously? A 7-day fast was never treated lightly where I came from. 7 days was considered engagement territory, not experimentation, not interruption, engagement. A 7-day fast begins to challenge permissions, confront standing resistance, expose deeper spiritual agreements, alter momentum. When someone crossed the 5th day, we paid attention because by then, the spirit is no longer just sensitive, it is involved. There was a pastor in Ramburg, Johannesburg. He went on a 7-day fast quietly. No announcement, no drama. By the 6th day, dreams intensified, spiritual pressure increased, assignments stalled. On the 7th day, the resistance we relied on collapsed, not violently, silently. That was when I learned 7 days destabilizes what 3 days only irritates. What a 7-day fast does differently. Spiritually, a 7-day fast forces review of long-standing claims, weakens entrenched resistance, draws higher scrutiny, invites counter-pressure. This is why many people experience stronger attacks, emotional volatility, unusual fatigue, intense dreams, not because the fast is wrong, but because it is working deeper. Why many people quit at day 6 or 7? From observation, most people fail at day 4, physical discomfort, day 6, emotional resistance, day 7, spiritual confrontation. This is not accidental. Day 7 is where negotiation ends. Either something breaks or it holds. Now listen carefully. A 21-day fast was never common. It was rare. It was serious. It was dangerous. We called it record-altering engagement because 21 days does not just confront resistance, it questions legitimacy. There was a woman named Nomvula Delamini living in Kalisha, Cape Town. She went on a 21-day fast after repeated miscarriages. By day 10, dreams stopped. Emotional numbness set in. By day 14, spiritual silence deepened. By day 18, pressure peaked. By day 21, everything changed. From our side, the record attached to her life was invalidated, not suspended, invalidated. A 21-day fast rewrites long-standing spiritual records, dismantles generational patterns, forces final judgments, resets spiritual timelines. It is not about endurance. It is about alignment over time. Why 21-day fasts are not for every season? This is critical. A 21-day fast exposes everything. That includes unresolved wounds, hidden agreements, suppressed emotions. This is why many people feel spiritually naked, emotionally raw, mentally exhausted. Without guidance, it can overwhelm. Many believers Many believers copy fasting lengths without understanding why. They assume longer is always better. That is not true. Different fasts engage different depths. A 3-day fast should not carry 21-day expectations. A 7-day fast should not be treated casually. A 21-day fast should not be attempted out of competition. This misunderstanding causes confusion and disappointment. It was during a 21-day fast observation that I realized this knowledge is being abused. People were being harmed not by fasting but by ignorance. That night changed me. I did not live because fasting scared me. I led because I saw how deeply spiritual laws could be exploited, and I could not continue. I share it carefully, not to control, not to frighten, but to restore understanding. I am Tabo Makize. I have seen what 3-day fasts do. I have seen what 7-day fasts do. I have seen what 21-day fasts undo. They are not the same, and now you know why. One thing Christians rarely understand is that fasting does not only draw heaven's attention, it draws attention everywhere. From where I came from, fasting was described as signal amplification. When someone fasted, their spiritual signal became clearer, sharper, louder, not in noise but in definition. That is why fasting was never ignored. We could tell who was fasting casually, who was fasting with intent, who had crossed from discipline into engagement. The length of the fast determined how far that signal traveled. A 3-day fast barely crossed local boundaries. A 7-day fast traveled further. A 21-day fast crossed territories. That difference mattered. I observed many 3-day fasts over the years. Different people, different cities, different problems. But the results followed a familiar pattern. In Midrand, a woman named Lerato Molefe fasted for 3 days, concerning marital tension. During the fast, arguments reduced, dreams came, she felt hope. 2 weeks later, the same cycle returned. In Polokwane, a young man named Taban Sikh fasted for 3 days about financial stagnation. He received an unexpected payment during the fast. By the next quarter, the stagnation resurfaced. From our side, we understood what was happening. The fast interrupted the flow, but did not redefine the channel. Many Christians say, I fasted, but nothing changed. That is usually not true. Something changed, but only at the surface layer. A 3-day fast loosens surface resistance, exposes issues, brings emotional relief, but it is rarely designed to dismantle structures. Expecting permanent change from a short engagement leads to disappointment, not because fasting failed, but because it was asked to do what it was not meant to do. Now, let me speak plainly about 7-day fasts. 7 days was the point where things became uncomfortable on both sides. In Santin, there was a businessman named Mandla Nkosi. He fasted for 7 days concerning repeated business collapses. By day 3, peace came. By day 5, pressure increased. By day 6, fear, confusion, and strange dreams appeared. By day 7, everything went quiet. Within weeks, contracts reopened, but not without turbulence. From observation, 7-day fasts almost always trigger counter pressure, emotional instability, spiritual resistance. That is because they begin to challenge standing permissions. Why day 6 and day 7 are always hard? This is something we noted repeatedly. Day 6 and day 7 were never peaceful. The body weakens, the mind questions, the spirit confronts. That is where most people quit. Not because fasting is harmful, but because negotiation intensifies. 7 days is where compromise is no longer enough. Internally, we called 7-day fasts destabilizers, not breakers, not finishers, destabilizers. They shake foundations. They expose vulnerabilities. They weaken resistance. But they do not always conclude matters. That distinction is important. A 21-day fast was different in every sense. It was not just longer, it was qualitatively different. By the second week, emotions flattened, reactions slowed, silence deepened. This silence was not emptiness, it was focus. At this stage, the spirit was no longer reacting, it was standing. In Pretoria East, a couple named Johan and Elise undertook a 21-day fast over chronic financial loss. By day 10, they reported emotional numbness. By day 14, dreams ceased. By day 17, a strange calm replaced anxiety. By day 21, a decisive shift occurred. Within months, patterns that had followed them for over a decade dissolved. From our side, the conclusion was simple. The record was no longer valid. Why 21-day fast end debates? A 21-day fast does not argue, it waits. And waiting with alignment forces conclusions. That is why 21-day fast was treated as a judgment length engagement. That is why 21-day fast was treated as a judgment length engagement, not punishment, judgment. The most dangerous error Christians make with fasting. Here is the most dangerous mistake I saw repeatedly. People fasted longer than their understanding. They copied durations without clarity. They endured without direction. They pushed without alignment. Fasting without understanding exposes you to exhaustion instead of resolution. Let me be clear. Longer fasts are not holier fasts. They are deeper engagements. And deeper engagements require clarity, stability, guidance, purpose. Without this, fasting becomes suffering without fruit. The night I decided to speak out was during a 21-day fast observation in Johannesburg South that I realized something irreversible. A woman fasted correctly. A man copied her without understanding. She broke through. He broke down. That night, I knew silence was no longer acceptable. I am Tabo Makize. I have watched 3 days fast interrupt cycles. I have watched 7-day fasts destabilize resistance. I have watched 21-day fasts rewrite records. They are not the same, and they should never be treated as the same. Fast, but fast with understanding. This is not doctrine. This is confession. Father, grant us wisdom before endurance. Teach us to engage spiritually with understanding, not imitation. Let every fast we undertake align with your purpose, and let no sincere soul suffer from ignorance. We ask for clarity, balance, and truth. In Jesus' name, amen.